I've talked about them quite a bit by this point, and unless they respond, definitely will be the last time. And if it is a good idea to rewatch this, in the right order too. Or at least watch my last video I uploaded yesterday. It's on screen right now. Though I will run down some of the other stuff to catch people up on their track record. They were a teenager doing most of this stuff, which is an excuse I'm willing to excuse only so many times. I've never seen anyone screw up this many times in this many serious cases involving allegations about, let's just call them the average child enjoyers, because YouTube is a censoring cringe platform that does not respect its roots. I want to be as efficient as possible, so let's address the stuff I already did in my previous videos. The Cosmodore saga was one that is definitely Harley's biggest mess up in a lot of ways. Definitely weird since, like, let's be real, for all intents and purposes, should have been easy. Harley was naive and had to constantly flip-flop and dangerous information, which isn't me saying Harley is fake. Don't worry, there will actually be plenty of examples of that later on. But it is Exhibit A as to why kids should not talk about people who are attracted to kids. Cosmodore successfully manipulated Harley a couple times, and something that everyone already knew was a situation that Harley felt to took upon themselves to investigate, I guess. Like, everyone already knew it. Like, Cosmodore admitted it. Stop giving them Steven Universe second chances. The only thing worse could be Harley talking to said person who, enjoys children. Oh wait, they did, and they got manipulated. Look, they weren't dumb enough to fall for a known groomer in the sense that they fell in love or anything. But looking at the timeline, Harley was more empathetic towards Cosmodore after the conversation than one prior. And then after Cosmo did it again, Harley finally realized Cosmo was a lost cause, and about 6 months after everyone else already came to that obvious conclusion, and they talked to the known groomer as a minor twice. Don't give me the UK law BS, because Cosmodore's German. My god. For the first time, they did have an adult monitoring the conversation as well as another minor. Just stop, which makes me confused as to why they didn't just have the adult nanny do the whole conversation and no one else. Who also said that Harley was too young to be criticized for clout by PrisonMateLuke, and also joined with Harley to laugh at Gotcha Lolly. What in God's name? And I mean, just what is this? Also, I noticed something funny I didn't know if I addressed. The video where Harley said it'd be the last time they'll address Cosmodore, which was also the video they admitted to contacting Cosmodore personally and told me they weren't dumb enough to fall for a known groomer, came before the video where they said Cosmodore should come back after rehabilitating themselves because people are very forgiving. A few months before, there was a lot of messed up things in this situation. I'm gonna be very genuine. Yeah. There's a lot of messed up stuff in this There was a lot of messed up stuff in this situation that I'm going to be very generous and count this all as one mess up. What makes matters worse is that though they didn't really mess anything specifically up, they bragged about how Komodachi admitted their grooming tendencies to HarleyTBS when they were still a minor, while Komodachi was still in chat. Now, it's horrible of the mess up, but the premise alone of, remember when parents told you not to talk to strangers online because they might be creeps? Well, actually, you should talk to them, especially if they're creeps. It would be poggies for that clout. I'm going to count this as number 2. Additionally, the Lolly video one I haven't really seen in a while, but basically it's the one everyone holds against Harley, which honestly I don't really get. Though the finickiness of the definition of it varies enough that Harley should have been more careful with wording choice, it's undisputably is not as bad as the real thing. I hope we all agree on that. Gonna count it as a mess up due to the response to the backlash, and re-uploading it was a copyright strike. So that's number 3. The second most infamous is the memed Pyro drama, which is the most blatant example of commentary hypocrisy in the history of everything ever. I don't need to say anything, so that's going to be number 4. And Harley's Technicals video wasn't as bad, but it was still pretty bad. I already addressed it. Long story short, Harley just ripped off John Swan's structure of their Technicals video like verbatim. And if your only research is John Swan, then you're doomed. But this backpedal just because you were in an argument is pathetic. Because you never thought the zero case is complex and you didn't give people the benefit of the doubt of varied opinions in the past.
Katie is an anonymous Twitter user who alleged that while they were 14 and Zero was 19, Zero had requested images of their nude body with ice cubes inside of their genitals. Ew. This claim is, if true, outright 100% predatory behavior that is indefensible and should in no way be excused or justified. And
okay, they do say if true, so that's good. Even though it's kind of confirmed, but like you can't even trust the confirmation anymore. Oh my god, so fucking dumb.
And while there aren't screenshots of this actual conversation where he requested this image, the victim did present to be excused or justified. And while there aren't screenshots of this actual conversation where he requested this image, the victim did present other conversations between them and Zero, which Zero has basically confirmed are real with Technicals in his own video, saying that he doesn't deny that these messages are gross. And these DMs show no less than what could be considered categorically 100% child grooming.
And thus they privated their original Zero video after all of this confidence and blowing up their chest about how Technicals, your optics are looking bad if you disagree with us after we just called your brother a nonce. Harley just pretends it's all just a matter of opinions, bro, even though they were acting pretty confident about the facts. I didn't even back down on the Zero stuff. Still haven't to this day. If they're innocent, then due to survival of the fittest, they shouldn't have indicted themselves under any circumstances. When I saw the video, I thought it was mixed, but the fact that Harley's morals are so gelatinous when push comes to shove, that they go from saying it's definitive that Technicals is in the wrong to, well, I mean, each to their own, is cowardly as heck. So I'm going to mark this one as mess up number 5. And I don't know the details on Vexx well enough, but between sourcing Jacko for rumors on anything, let alone the subject matter of this video, as well as declaring your friend as a groomer in the title, but saying allegedly in the description, as well as like exploiting the whole, oh hey, they were my friend angle like 5 minutes after the allegations dropped, seems scummy even by my standards. To be fair, it was admitted by Vexx that there was a 3-year gap, but also looking at the backpedal Harley did during a certain Camy and John Swan situation makes me think that this is a disingenuous little piece of garbage. So I'm going to count that one as 6. Okay, so we're at 6 times, and we still haven't actually started the video yet. I've been criticized for starting off slow, so I hope that addressing more false allegations from one person than anyone else I've ever talked about in the intro alone compensates for that lack of efficiency. Speaking of efficiency, similar to the last HarleyTBS video I made, I'm going to shorten it as much as I can. For example, the Antoons Saga. This does need a lot of funny context to fully appreciate, but the bullet points are really easy. Antoons is an edgy animator who also did some false accusing of their own, and thought the LGBT community was a map-harboring machine. That's a lot of accusations right there. The Antoons drama spanned lots of YouTubers, and everyone was in the wrong. But we just want to focus on the HarleyTBS just accusing Antoons of drawing CP, because Antoons drew Harley being spanked because of a joke about how spoiled they were and needing a stranger online to punish them like a parent because their parents aren't doing a good job. It's a weird joke. I'm not going to pretend it's not, but it's not CP. Whenever Harley is confronted, they just weasel their way out of it hilariously badly. Like, what does... That looks like a parody of something Harley would say. There was a character on a kids show who spanked kids. It was weird, but it's not like CP. Definitely not illegal material shown on Cartoon Network. This is an insanely dumb allegation. I usually don't call these false allegations defamatory because there's a lot of steps that involve defamation that are tough to prove. This is one of the few times, yeah, this is defamation. Especially since Harley fans are convinced that this is true. Thus, the damages to Antoons' reputation and advocating legal consequences can be applied in any potential court case. Most people looking at this from the outside understand that this is incomprehensibly dumb and not even worth arguing moving forward. But they are quite cowardly for saying this. I'm not in any way implying Antoons is a nonce. Antoons explicitly drew CP of me. But yeah, Harley made a bad take on Polycon and struck people for archiving it. And Arliss, the guy who trolled John Swan, Harley, and Dream at the same time, also was the same guy who was brought into a failed nonce catching psyop on Instagram when they were like 14. This community is so weird. Was not letting people forget that. And I will do my part to not let people forget this either. Especially when Harley acts innocent or even superior to others. Get off your high horse, kid. You're not better than anyone else. In fact, you're worse. So this is number 7 for those who are keeping track. Dr. Demonic discussing the Rose drama. I just talked about this in a previous video, but I didn't focus as much on the Nancy stuff.
Based off of my personal involvement. But I'm not going to delay it. Let's begin. I first met Harley back in the summer of 2020. I had been approached by a 16-year-old by the name of Rose about him and another creator harassing her, with her claiming that Harley falsely accused her of being a pedophile since there was evidence of her flirting with an 11-year-old, and putting out a dox on her as evidence that she was over the age of 18. I actually made a video about that situation where I criticized him for this false claim, although I removed it within a few hours of it being up due to me being a complete moron and ignoring counter evidence against Rose. However, just because I deleted the video doesn't mean my criticism was completely invalid, because Harley did make this false claim, or at the very least made the insinuation, saying in a community post that he had evidence. His evidence was an image that I can't show for the sake of privacy that essentially doxed Rose, and in the community tab post he's deleted since, he claimed that Rose was actually 22. However, this evidence really didn't prove anything. The way Harley vetted this is he did a Google search of Rose's real name and found a crowdfunding page made in 2018 by someone with the same name. From there, he compared photos of Rose and this woman and made the determination that they were the same person and based all of his other research on that. This rationale doesn't work for 2 reasons. Number 1, just because someone looks like someone else doesn't mean that they are the same person. If you need a concrete example of this, look at the situation with Keemstar and Tony, also known as RS Glory and Gold. But secondly, it wouldn't make sense for it to be Rose because the image of her and the woman looked nothing alike, and on top of that, she would have been 14 at the time, meaning she would have looked even younger than she did in the image Harley used, and it wouldn't have even been a pedophilia situation to begin with. It would have just been weird. This is something that I would call him out for in DMs after Rose called the 2 of us out on Twitter.
Wow, okay, let's just go over those screenshots real quick. First 2 lines are demanding a flag takedown and the platforming of this Rose person. She needs a punishment to realize her wrongs, said like the megalomaniac they are. She claims I accused her of being a nonce. They say claim after the harassment claims this is a lie. 4 lines down, Harley says they have screenshots of her flirting with an 11-year-old and admitting it. So yeah, you are. You are what? Harley likes to call people nonsense and then pretend they never call people nonsense. More lying, more allegations, more flagging. I forgot doxing. No one Harley used to look up to dox people. Isn't that right, Etherean art? Okay, to be fair, give Death Penis some credit. When they doxed a creepy predator, they at least got the right guy.
In the DMs, which are on screen now, I debunked his argument using the same explanation I just used, and then he said he was going to reach out to Rose and secretly record the conversation, which is illegal to do without consent in some states. This is something that Luke criticized Harley for doing with a person by the name of Cameron F305 when he covered Yandere Dev.
That is insane. One thing you'll notice is Dr. Demonic describing some of the most insanely terrible things Harley has ever done in a very reasonable and accommodating way. And it's like sometimes like, oh, they're just a kid. They just doxed, defamed, scammed, and just all of this other horrible stuff in one video. Like, the whole comments are just using this as yet another Luke bad video, but Harley looks way worse from this video than Luke. They go on to research whether it's illegal or not or to record. It doesn't really matter because they just say at the end that like it might not be illegal, but morally you shouldn't record people secretly. So Harley, you shouldn't just record people secretly. That's bad. That's creepy. You're weird. You're a freak.
And I would argue that you should do that just as a moral standard. This is where I partially agree with Luke, though again, Harley was not necessarily in the wrong for recording the conversations. Moving along though after that tangent, Harley did apologize to Rose and remove the post against her after I kinda explained why he was in the wrong. I personally believe that the Rose situation was a matter of him not really thinking things through because remember, Harley is 16. He's still a kid. Kids are prone to doing dumb shit, and the way people grow is to learn from said dumb shit.
Not moving along. Why isn't Harley in the wrong? You just admitted they're in the wrong. Is it just because? Anyway, so Harley removes the false allegations and doxing from their previous post and apologizes to Rose because they are so apologetic and have messed up so many times that they're going to do the right thing and never talk about this serious subject matter ever again. Oh wait, they were actually just getting started. So no, they apologize, but they're not going to stop screwing up these situations. They'll just apologize every time they get caught doing it. Then Dr. Demonic talks about Harley with regards to clout chasing, whether they do or they don't. I don't really care. I already talked about potential scamming and how Dr. Demonic has the audacity to use the kid excuse in this video where they straight up revealed these horrible, horrible things as an intro topic. And that was our lucky 8 false allegation or just general mess up of a situation with this specific subject matter. HarleyTBS versus me. Chronologically, this is really the first time I was critical of HarleyTBS. On the note that Antoons being accused of creating CP of Harley due to spanking wasn't sexual, funny context, but Harley didn't just spin it that way. Straight up called it illegal material. People alerted me to how weird the Harley Discord was, including a drawing Harley as a weirdo maid and like other stuff. And I'm like, okay, these are weird. These are both weird. Poor phrasing on my part. I should have just said they're both bad. Should have been more clear. I can't really show you my original post because I'm not in that Discord anymore, and my tweets have been deleted because I don't have that account anymore. It's been a while, so I forgot. Ugh. But TLDR, I posted a quasi expose. I wasn't expecting it to get much attention with my Twitter suspended, so whoops. I got pretty mad when Harley maybe misrepresented me and my Discord in a vague post saying, "Stop drawing prawn of me videos from Antoons." Don't worry, I agree with the title. I'm not disagreeing with the title. On the other hand, strides that effect, but I don't disagree with the title. The intended goal with that specific point was to hammer in the absurdity of Harley's much more egregious slander than, calling spanking drawing of teen CP from Antoons. I don't know if it's a similar equivalency to maid outfits being drawn of you by mods and being called cute being sus. Also, why are there 14-year-old cat boys on Discord at all? What?
YouTubers were minors. Why would a minor wear a maid's dress?
Hey, I asked the questions here, not you.
What kind of sick audience would watch a minor put on a maid's dress? And what kind of dumb parent would allow this? Does she even have parents?
No.
Riddler, you're not watching her because she's funny, right?
Neither are extreme or dangerous material or territory, but they're both weird, and it's hypocrisy to call hate art that isn't even explicit or CP when there's fan art with those connotations that people explicitly call cute that you praise. Also, you admit that it's inappropriate to do that to kids.
Alright, let's do this one more time. Komodachi is a disgraced Friday Night Funkin' content creator, very well known for their incredible mod animation videos, where they highlight how in Friday Night Funkin' they've implemented features like maid outfits, which is one of the dumbest things you could possibly imagine being added to a kid's game, but we won't talk about that because, everyone has their own interest.
Now, unfortunately, my Twitter account is gone because some Elon fan got my account deleted, so that's great. Unfortunately, I don't have the whole thing archived, but they're completely misattributing and misdescribing the point. And also, one, intent doesn't really matter that much. Two, you kind of just brushed over the entire point, which is that it's not whether you disagree or not. Like, Antoons, yeah, it was weird. I'm not going to disagree there. It's not CP though. It's not CP. It's legally not CP. It's nowhere close to being CP. And you admit that maid outfits are weird. What is the joke? Just maid outfit? Like, like think back to what Riddler and Batman were talking about. Like, what's the punchline? And also, as not an inside joke, your server had a lot of people and it was public. All of that stuff is weird, and you shouldn't have been publicly, you know, all that stuff is just weird for you to be doing publicly in just as a minor. And also, just the once again, the femboy hooters thing is way worse than the maid example. Oh my god, why? I'm scarred.
After all of this early stuff, Harley might have actually lied to me in a video responding to the crap storm I was discussing through the entire Smart Alec versus Harley saga. Maybe it was just people generally, and not me. I didn't see many other people make this point, not to say it didn't happen, and they didn't give names, but given the timing of everything, seems off. This is a Harley L. I didn't have to do much for this part.
But don't filter comedy because it will somehow make pedophiles feel justified. I have no idea what the point people are trying to make is by saying that for some reason me making a joke about my sexuality is the same as allowing people to draw porn of me. It's a dumb argument. You're dumb. I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry. You're fucking stupid. Thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed.
Bro, the only point is that if spanking like a freaking Saturday morning cartoon is CP, then Hooters definitely are. But neither of them are. Neither of them are even close. That's the point. That's it. That's it. That's it.
As for Harley detractors, no need to show me weird stuff all the time. It's been traumatic enough. Harley still misconstrued everyone else's points and lumped their critics about their double standards and threw them into a similar pile to freaks that want to ew them. That's more defamation. Anyways, I believe that is 9, I hear. Is that a 9? I think that's a 9. So we're still in the single digits. So we're not at critical mass. Erin Clover aging up fictional minors. I don't get this. This is one of the dumbest videos I've ever seen. Even the premise alone is flawed because there's a lot of debate. This isn't me like defending like things that actually look like kids. This is like, you know, like in movies, 30-year-olds play teenagers and they all look like Greek gods. This is that, but an anime. Harley is complaining the adult is making drawings of fictional adults that look like adults, smash like adults because they used to be kids. Let me tell you a little story about how adults work. So one day, a child is born. They are a child. 18 years later, they are an adult. The end. That's a tale you frickin' fail. Don't tell that to Harley. They need to defame someone badly. The worst part is that this isn't the worst part. The video was bad by Harley standards, and even if the premise was not flawed, this whole video is just insane. Didn't even have much public backlash aside from the comment section. And the Fedoids are still mad that you didn't specify what the crime was. So funny context. Erin Clover was a person who shipped their OC with an aged up manga character who was already buff, and like it's getting mad at someone wanting to ship themselves with Andrew Garfield or Tom Holland because they played teens as adults. Like, I know it's controversial, but anime draws a lot of teens, let's just say appeal in mind. It's kind of weird. I wish they'd, actually do it for college students. I'm not going to compare someone who thinks Ryuko from Kill la Kill is best girl to some Lolita creep any day of the week. Even then, it's just like, why is Erin Clover still singled out? Yeah, you didn't directly call them a nonce. You didn't call it CP this time. You danced around it and tried to
basically have all the same consequences for it, though. Why was Erin Clover singled out? It was because they're popular and got canceled by Twitter, even though other people do this nonstop. Harley is a cloud chaser, and they will continue denying that they are a cloud chaser for some reason. Just admit it. Honestly, vid was dumb. Comments do a better job on this than I do. Technically, initially Harley was defending this video and used that whole really cowardly argument of, I didn't call them a nonce. I just made sure everyone would think they are. I'm glad you took so much good inspiration from the highlight of Turkey Tom's career, the pyro allegations, because if you're going to be inspired by Turkey Tom, handling that situation is how you should be inspired by them.
Obviously, this doesn't make Erin Clover a file in itself, because Erin Clover isn't actually sexualizing a real child. However, this behavior is incredibly creepy at minimum and should not be supported or condoned or excused in any way, because this behavior is actively harmful to the safety of minors and actively perpetuates beliefs that it's okay to sexualize minors if they aren't real, which it isn't.
Okay, so Harley didn't call them a nonce because they aren't actively hurting kids, but they're dangerous because they are attracted to kids, and this will lead to fake kids that are drawn like adults that are then doubly aged up and doubly fake, so they're fictional adults. This video is archived, so I'm assuming you regret it now, so please apologize to Erin Clover. Also, don't even change appearance of said characters. How much more adult can they make this guy look from copious amounts of hair? I know Giga Chad is kind of the hot new thing right now, but I don't like hairy dudes. This is a man. This is a manly man. This is a drawing of a man who's a man. Like, seriously, this is some Uzaki-chan level stuff. If it has nothing to do with being a nonce or anything of the like, why is it concerning at all? Think through your implications. But they don't have time to think. This video was obviously incredibly rushed.
The mood light was quite obviously recorded quite late into the night, as more recently I fell behind on my schedule with content creation, and as such it was leading to some videos that were created hours before they went public, and as such I felt like it was sacrificing their quality, as I usually made videos a day before they were going up, and that started with the Gabby Hanna video, which I feel showed. So today I'm going to try and make this video at 3 AM, and hopefully stick together this video with tape and rope, and try and make a video that comprehensively covers an allegation without passing out. If I do pass out, please pay it no mind.
Within the first few minutes of the video itself, Harley is making mistakes that they catch in editing.
More on this situation and what it represents as a whole. Before I begin, hi, I'm HarleyTBS. I post videos every single day, and I'm what would be considered a coffee channel, which is basically a tea channel, but I make videos on shit that actually matters.
That lacks so much self-awareness, I just ascended to a higher plane of reality. Then says the problem is aging up the characters. Like, why is the problem itself that they're not kids? That, like, what?
The problem is that they tried to age up these characters, claiming that they're all over 18 and that they're changed. But I don't think they realize the main issue with that claim, as if you don't change the appearance of a character in the first place to look more older, the problem is still there, as you're quite literally just sexualizing the same character because you had a sexual appeal to the fact that they were a minor character, and then you're trying to excuse it by saying, oh, you made them older.
Dog, that ain't even close to right. No, they are not attracted to them because they're minor. It's because they are a fictional drawing that has a bunch of abs and looks weirdly adult and is a teenager, and they end up redrawing them to look bulked up and even more adult anyways. So it's a fictional adult that was canonically 2 years prior a kid, but also in story I'm pretty sure they're becoming an adult anyways, so it doesn't matter. And none of this makes sense. Also, the problem in anime is that every teenager looks like a model. They get voiced by and look like adults. Like how teens in Euphoria are played by adults. That one's even weirder. Also, they mentioned Deku was 17. Do they have to look completely different in a year?
Is essentially minors being changed in their age without visual representation of the change, so that they can continue to be sexualized by Erin Clover without backlash, so that they can express their sexual fantasies with these minors without issue. And I know a lot of people try to use the excuse, oh, it's just a drawing, it's not real, which means it can't do harm, and that excuse is absolute as in this situation, when you're creating artwork like this, it can very clearly extend into the real world. When Erin Clover, the artist, is creating artwork of themselves and minors in sexual context, it can very clearly become a gateway into content like that of real people, or being involved in real people, or thinking that this is acceptable if you were to change the real person's age to be older. Then if you have to change the real person's age to be older.
That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard anyone say in commentary ever. That sentence right there. It has to be the dumbest.
Yeah, geez, I'm kind of at a loss for words. I mean, they had to have been misphrasing that. But come on, when you're talking about allegations, maybe it was staying up till 3 a.m. where you're going to say stuff like, what was that? They're just gonna age people up in real life? How would you do that? That sounds like a superhero ability. I, 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 what, what? I mean, like, I get it, like normalize drawings means normalize people in real life, but like I sometimes agree with that if it's like obvious lolly stuff, but like, that's not normalizing. That's just a superpower. With a take that insane, I have to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to assume they mean drawings of real people, given the context of Erin Clover being an artist. I guess that would make sense, but even then, still a bad argument because it's not like, I don't know, fictional models that are looking like teenagers that are basically just the same train of thought as 30-year-olds playing teenagers in American TV are going to end up leading anywhere close to the same thing as Shad drawing Keem's daughter. But like, I mean, there is logic. It's not insane.
now, after Erin Clover was called out for this incredibly heinous behavior, they decided to delete their Instagram account and other social media so that they can evade any backlash from their audience, with a Patreon post actually saying that they were quitting Instagram permanently. Now, this was coincidentally when people started bringing up the similarities between their actual drawings of themselves and their OC, but I'm not going to make assumptions here, okay? I just wanted to put that information out there. And now on their Patreon, they're saying that they've quit Instagram, this huge platform that has such a following on, and they continue to create NSFW artwork of these characters on their Patreon, including obvious NSFW artwork of them and Bakugo.
What else do you want aside from death?
What am I supposed to do?
Really
Die?
keep saying evading backlash nonstop, and I'm really hating it. Really doesn't even make sense. This isn't evading backlash. It's a buzz phrase. You just keep using these phrases and you don't know what they mean. I don't care if you're trying to be professional. You're bad at it. You're just so bad.
Multiple different characters, some examples on screen, all censored, of course. But the point here is the fact that they are
You just exposed that you, as a minor, just went to an NSFW Patreon and got NSFW content that you've been proclaiming was bad and problematic, all video. I mean, you do realize there's like laws against minors having that stuff, right? Erin Clover, like give them credit, they were doing enough work to make sure minors don't have access to it, but you snuck around that, and that's your fault, and you're breaking the law. I mean, kids do that all the time, but they don't admit it to hundreds of thousands of
I even
people.
saw accounts claiming that Erin Clover had groomed people. Now, at this current time, I've seen no evidence of that. So, at this current moment, I cannot confirm whether those allegations are real or if they are fabricated, and as such, I'm not going to touch on them. However, I thought it was important to get that information out there, that there are claims going around of that in the community. As obviously, if that's true, that would be a huge issue, and as such, it would be an incredible problem with how Erin Clover has handled this whole situation, how they've avoided ever accepting what they've done. done or admitting to what they've done, and how they've continued to perpetuate this ideology that it's okay to create NSFW of minor characters if you just age them up beforehand without even changing their visual features. So I'm just going to put that out there. I don't know if that's true. There's no evidence to back it up at this moment other than just a victim story.
No evidence at all, just random Twitter accusations. Why give it time? Can I get a 90,000 sub channel to give me attention if I just call someone a grommer without evidence? Why even acknowledge this in the first place?
That being said, I think I've covered everything I wanted to say about this situation, and I hope I've highlighted exactly what is wrong with aging up characters without even changing their visual appearance for the only sake of NSFW purposes, as it's very clear here that Erin Clover has no other intentions than sexual content, as they've created so much sexual content that it's fucking ridiculous. Look at their Patreon and just scroll through it. There's so much NSFW on there. Obviously, it's censored because you haven't paid for it, and they've sold out all of their age-restricted content now, so you can't even see it.
If you're someone that wants to look into an investigate.
They are a prawn artist. They exist. There's lots of them. You are a minor. You're shaming someone for making it difficult for a minor to access prawn.
That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard anyone say in commentary ever. That sentence right there. It has to be the dumbest.
From their video because I feel like they said it best and I couldn't have said it better myself. So let's play that clip now.
I'm going to compare it to something of a relatively similar standing. Racism.
This video was archived, so I'll never see this stupid take ever again. Cringe. Okay, we're in the double digits now. What a way to go to the double digits. Good God. Casual argumentative defamation. So we thought that Harley called people nonsense for views, right? Clearly not, since they defame people under the radar. The lies get worse. I'm sorry, this stuff is blurry. One of the many Discord adventures were essentially the accused one of their ex-users of, well, a lot of things. Some true, some exaggerated, some lies. All pain, no gain. Sonny was in an argument with Harley, but Harley used death by association and randomly said Harley was defending someone named C or Tired Boy and framed them as a super creep, most notably saying this man didn't stop after they were told to. Apparently the banning thing was wrong and they were able to rejoin ban-free, which I don't really know the implications, but there are more important lies here. Not only did Harley exaggerate the severity, but lied about how they didn't stop thing, and the supposed victim Harley kept bringing up just to defend, make other people look bad. Don't even agree. Using the victim for views is one thing, but lying about them to make them seem more victimized just to get an own on your foes, just to make them look worse, and they don't even agree. This is disgusting.
You're horrible. You're an irredeemable monster.
Seriously, actually pathetic. Both the alleged victim and the alleged accuser, they like each other and they think Harley's full of it. And I'm not going to be like Seth ain't, they do some things, but whatever. But like Harley still was wrong about this stuff and still lied about them. Nice this kid defames people in casual conversation. So we're at 11. Nice. Double digits of false accusations. Those are like Keemstar Def Noodle numbers. Can't even think of that many times for those two, but I'm sure there are that many. HarleyTBS fell for John Swan again. One reason I want a giant, bigger video not talking about this grooming stuff is to prove some objective dishonesty and sleaziness on Harley's part. I don't know. I don't need to know because this recently happened, though. Remember when Harley fell for John Swan and cried, demanding an apology from him? Remember Harley forgiving John Swan and shaming people for bringing up the past with John Swan? Remember when Harley ripped off John Swan's video, whether it was the tech one or the dream one, etc.? Remember when John Swan did everything he's ever done in the past in one situation, from manipulating lies about a Google Doc behind the scenes to acting coy when bragging about it to accusing a 3-year age gap of being a nonce, just everything, absolutely everything. Within a few hours, Harley was going to bat for this situation overconfidently, calling Destiny a groomer defender, and backpedal within less than a day about that take. A flip-flop even quicker and more pathetic than when they were 15 and flip-flopped on Pyrocynical. You don't remember that last one? Well, we're going to go over that last one. Let me jog your memory, maybe introduce you to something new. Anyways, the 18-year-old's name is Camy. They are a just insane person, but we don't need to talk about that today. My goal is to defend as many terrible people as possible, apparently, today. HarleyTBS helped expose Camy and corroborate with John Swan to a small extent, but was completely on board when the optics looked good for John Swan and even called people who disagreed groomer defenders, and they deleted this because they are a coward. Then flipped hardcore when this all went south and acted like Camy is innocent but disagreeable, a far cry from groomer accusations. Harley backpedals from being definitively calling someone a groomer to not wanting to ruin their life. Like to retract their insinuation that Camy was a groomer. I reacted too impulsively. I have sent a private apology to Cam. Well, good for you. Anyways, don't try to act superior to John Swan and just throw them under the bus for the stuff you were both completely on board with. Serial liar John Swan, with a history of manipulating people and lying about documents as well as insinuating 3-year age gaps, are nonsense, threw a 15-year-old under the bus on Easter and let them fend for themselves, accusing someone 3 years older of being a nonce. Harley was shocked that the serial liar John Swan lied, but now is betrayed again and jumped on this stuff within a day. This proves that Harley hasn't improved and is worse than ever with no regards to nonce allegations. What a naive fool to mess up this stuff again within one Easter Sunday. So quick to backpedal after such an unearned confidence because you mess up this often. Literally in the double digits. You're disgusting. This was deleted and Destiny.
I'm not involved and their opinions don't reflect my own. Okay, so
Harley is the one on Twitter going after Destiny. That's someone on my YouTube chat said. Is somebody going after me on Twitter? Because like it sounds like there was no predatory or grooming behavior, despite what this dipshit Harley is saying on Twitter. It doesn't seem... I feel like...
I have one more tweet from Harley. Harley sent me this tweet specifically to read, if that's okay with you.
I would really like to talk to Harley. I don't think any of you guys are like the problem here. I think somebody like Harley is the problem, but...
I wish I was the problem. That would make me very important.
I don't think he's like a danger.
I'll try harder next time.
Yeah. Can I just give like a random... Can I say some random shit as a 33-year-old, and then you guys can tell me to fuck off, or you like take it whatever. So like this is like my recollection from high school. Okay, it's been 15 years, so it's been a while. All right.
Sure.
High school is like a very confusing, fucked up place. Okay, your bodies are going crazy, your minds are going crazy. Hormonally, everything is insane. You're stressed about like trying to pass colleges and or trying to pass classes to pick the right ones for college. You've got like parents. You're trying to figure out who the fuck you are because you're who knows who you are, right? Because it's like the most important identity forming period of your life. All of this stuff is going on, and I guess one of the things that worries me is that like if you feel like you are failing, or if you feel like you fucked up a lot, or if you feel like you're not doing the right thing, that's totally normal. Every single person that you talk to in their 20s or in their 30s will tell you that if you feel like everything is fucked in high school, that's totally normal. Everybody has these feelings.
Sure. It's like a last ditch effort, you know.
Okay. Because the first statement of like, I don't want to destroy anybody's life, that's what you're doing, right? It would be accountable and nobody would help them. There's nothing they could do about it. But it's not a first resort. Like the Me Too thing and like outing people online, that was supposed to be like all other options have failed instead of like this is the very first thing we're going to do to try to ameliorate a situation. So if she wanted the person to stop, I'm guessing it sounds like if you would have messaged him and said like, hey, stop, it probably would have happened. But it doesn't sound like that was ever communicated, you know?
Yeah, so the thing is, though, Harley wasn't like involved in releasing the document. It was out before Harley gave commentary upon it.
Well, that might be the case, and that might be true. I don't know if that's true or not. It might be. But the attitude that Harley has is the type of attitude that pushes this type of really toxic stuff forward. Again, if Harley thought something wrong was going on, which is fine, she can have that opinion. And if she wanted it to stop, which is also fine, she can have that opinion. Then the first step is to like actually start telling people, like, hey, you need to stop this behavior. And then if they don't, then you escalate, right? And if then you tell parents, you get counsel, and if they don't do that, then you go to the police. And then if they don't do that, then you go public. You're like, okay, well, you know, this is our last resort, you know?
Sure. It's like a last ditch effort, you know?
Okay.
Disney also deleted their stuff, but were rightfully roasting you for not knowing what groomers even were, and yet you make a career based off of all the mistakes about trusting people. There's no excuse to trust John Swan and Scrimzox. There's also the issue of just immediately jumping on this non-stuff while you constantly fail within a few hours, going from cocky to righteous indignation to immediately running away like the pathetic, clout-chasing little fake SJW piece of garbage you are. This virtue signaling BS doesn't matter when you know you don't have values, and hopefully everyone will know soon. More evidence of Harley declaring Camy a grommer if I didn't. So it wasn't an insinuation. Well, okay, I guess it was. Nope, it wasn't an insinuation. They just declared it. If I didn't have a life and I wasn't with my family on Easter, I would have screenshotted more, but this is all I have. And I could mock John Swan for the same stuff as everyone else does. And Swan is about 10 times worse than Harley. But honestly, going after the cowardly enablers who follow and support the same BS narrative and flip-flop immediately after anything changes for over a year and doesn't learn their lesson, you got till you're an adult, kid. And until then, for God's sake, stop kidding around with these allegations, at least treating them as seriously as jokes. Give younger Harley some credit. It took a bit longer than 3 hours to arrogantly flip-flop this badly. I don't know if they were 18 when I posted this screenshot, but they're getting closer, and Harley might be getting worse. Kid has the audacity to call anyone else slimy, disingenuous, or imply they're hypocritical about this stuff after the absolute pathetic flip-flopping they always do, after this much confidence. And if anyone thinks that, oh, Harley didn't know it was Swan, or didn't know Swan was claiming Cam was a nonce, surely after seeing Swan's narrative flip against their favor, Harley leaked DMs between them and seeing Swan act maliciously about stuff Harley already knew, just like the Kai Weiss and Sen stuff threw Swan under the bus, even though Harley was one of the biggest peddlers of this Cam is a groomer narrative, but somehow only Swan is malicious here. You are a part of the problem. You're basically agreeing with Swan in this screenshot. You're cropping out some stuff where you and Swan were probably just laughing to the bank over this stuff. But that's DMs, and you get mad when people leak DMs. That'd be hilarious if Swan actually somehow had some of this stuff screenshotted. You're an adult and you haven't changed, aside from getting sneakier. 1 week, Harley mocks people for not trusting John Swan. Next week, Harley joins John Swan in calling someone a nonce. Less than a day later, Harley acts like John Swan is malicious in calling someone a nonce. Need I say a precedent that Harley got even worse? The audacity to call out Swan for something you were supporting actively makes you two-faced people. Nothing even changed aside from the level of backlash. And once again, this makes the Vexx delegation seem worse, since according to you, 3 years isn't that bad. So, wow, 12 was one of the worst ones yet. At least the others can be looked up in a vacuum as a mistake. It becomes a stretch with all of them together. This was Harley's most amoral backpedal ever. I hate Swan, but they absolutely threw Swan under the bus. And the worst part was that Harley got away with this. Only like 2 negative comments. Now that I've securely destroyed the benefit of the doubt, I feel like I can do things a bit more speculatively, since there isn't as much concrete evidence for the following. Scrimzox. This one's a bit of a stretch, but I'm only doing this because Harley does it to other people. A little bit of death by association, you know. Eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, and man, I need a new prescription anyways. But it's extreme enough to compounding with everything else that I should address it anyways. Harley's friend Scrimzox is involved with some convolutedly bad allegations. Long story short, they've pretty much been confirmed. Everyone aside from Scrimzox themselves has seen enough videos that pretty much succinctly put into perspective. You can go watch Darknickle's and Grimsy's videos on the subject. Scrimzox also has more clout than Vexx, also a worse person than Vexx, who Harley made a video on immediately. Started out the video laughing, used their friendship as a way to get clicks while calling them a grommer. But in the title, prefaced it with alleged in the description. Great guy Harley, and they've crossed over. I'm referring to Scrimzox and Harley, of course. I briefly went over Scrimzox in my Dangers of Commentary video, and so everything's connected to that video at this point. But once again, watch Darknickle's and Grimsy's many videos on the subject. It's damning stuff. So Grimsy allegedly DM'd Harley about Scrimzox and got ghosted.
In fact, I'm pretty sure Scrimzox gave $1,000 to Mr. Augie RFC. Jesus Christ, I'm starting to sound like fucking Nick. Basically, what I'm trying to say is also I gave this information to HarleyTBS, who proceeded to ghost me and not give a fuck.
And they do talk to each other and have referenced it in passing. Of course, this is just word of mouth, but if it is true, Scrimzox was allegedly in Harley's Discord with a lot of fresh kids to potentially prey upon. But what isn't alleged is that this audio clip from Grimsy was given to me in February of 2022. That means that Scrimzox was in Harley's server until they got blasted publicly by technicals while Grimsy informed the miner and their miner-filled Discord about this information along his way back if Scrimzox was ever in that Discord. They were chilling up with Nat in March to be kind of just talking to him and asking curiously in a non-aggressive way, which on Harley's Twitter, it's very rare to it's basically 50-50 whether or not they're fighting with someone. And Neon Caffeine, not a very trustworthy source, so take what I say with a grain of salt, said, this is vague stuff, a kind of sort of confirmation. Sen said that Harley and Neon Caffeine ran defense for them when Scrim's old video dropped. Neon Caffeine, via atrocious grammar, kind of confirmed it with a but yeah. She's not very smart. Just take what she says with a grain of salt. This is all word of mouth and hearsay. I can't prove anything with regards to Harley having Scrimmy on their little Discord. I don't got no screenshots. But they had enough interactions, friendly talks, and mutual circle stuff that if you make your channel about exposing Preds, disavowing both Scrimmy with serious allegations before it becomes a super clout-based decision. Don't go Scrimsy and then kick them out because you're afraid of technical. And I know Harley has gone on record complaining that people demand they talk about groomers or death by association. I get it. But this is different. How close Scrimzox has been with Harley's inner circle and maybe endangering people with Harley's access? Like it's their friend. Come on. Grimsy said you ghosted him after he confronted you about what's going on, Harley. Don't want to talk about Scrimzox, your friend's degenerate history. What's happening? Is it because Scrimzox threatens to sue anyone who brings it up? Anyways, even with not everything being confirmed, there's enough scummy stuff and hypocrisy here with regards to not handling Anons the one time you should. I'm going to count this as unlucky 13. The video was kind of supposed to be over, but I also, unfortunately, missed two more things. Lexit, first of all.
Was deleting these, potentially to hide the evidence. This put scrutiny on Lexit's actions. I then decided to get this Patreon subscriber to contact many of the people who commented on Lexit's Patreon post and get them in contact with Braxton so that they could go through the emails and show without a doubt when Lexit made the initial Patreon post, because it was claimed Lexit had altered another post to replace it to cover her back. But that couldn't at the time have been proven. When one of these Patrons responded, we guaranteed it. Lexit had posted this Patreon days earlier, back in November, way before any of Luke's evidence claimed, and had now faked other evidence to cover her own back. This conclusive evidence only came about because of me and Braxton's research. So now all we had to do was call Lexit out. But at this same time, because I put scrutiny on Luke's actions, questioned his evidence, and told him I intended to criticize him in a video of my own, because he refused to listen to the criticism in private, Luke decided to derail the whole situation and go after me, letting a de facto alleged child sexter go free, when even the document made the call out said alleged predator switched its focus, along with all the accounts like the Art Bond covering the situation, to me. Lexit was allowed to escape almost all criticism and got away practically scot-free. Even Lexit herself said to me that she felt responsible for the harassment that I got sent for arguably no reason when...
To break it all down, yeah, all of it shouldn't have been derailed to focus on Harley, but then again, Harley said they were going to make a video on PrisonMateLuke, only for PrisonMateLuke to make a video on Harley. So they're both at fault for derailing it in that regard. There's definitely fault to be shared in that regard, and saying that they escaped criticism. What the heck are you planning on doing? Oh no, the child predator, let's criticize them to death. What? Escape criticism and backlash. Why is that all you care about? Is like, ooh, let's harass them. No, throw them in prison. All that needs to be do is not to publicly call them out so they can escape. All that needs to be done is to tell the police so they don't escape. Or anything. Maybe tell Patreon. Anything but that. You're already talking to them with Brandon, the other false accusing teenager who shouldn't be talking to predators. Again, God, you guys are stupid. Why was this only seen as PrisonMateLuke bad? Revisionist history BS. And here's another one. Okay, I guess that's going to count as number 14? I guess that's 14. Yeah, that's 14.
HarleyTBS slanders teenager, false predator allegations. YouTube. A teenager that no one can decide is 6 and a 3-year age gap with a 13-year-old is ubiquitously considered problematic until omniliberal bullies the optics of John Swan, leading Harley to throw John Swan under the bus. I'm gonna watch the rest of this video. It's tough to take seriously with the AI voice, but there's like 8-0 burgers at the end, including the alleged nonce dating someone older than them being brought up. Like, what in the victim blaming is this?
Your video is of high quality. How can nearly 100,000 people watch this and not click off?
One of the first claims levied against Average was that they were sending indecent messages to someone believed to be 13 at the age of Average being 16. It's allegedly been confirmed, but as I've seen no evidence of their age that proves Average knew it outright, this is left up in the air. However, a lot of the DMs are extremely graphic and sexual in nature and incredibly inappropriate to be sending to someone of this age. I mean, that should go without saying. You shouldn't be sending anything like this to anyone 3 years your junior. I feel like that, for most people, is considered a very concerning age gap, but these DMs only link to some of the more depraved shit that comes up later in this story, with many of these DMs just being ERP roleplay. However, a key thing to note in this conversation is the fact that Average asks for more pictures of the minor, and the minor says, oh, you want them for pleasure material. Obviously, that's not acceptable. If you were 16 and you were asking a 13-year-old for something like this, you are way past the bar of just in the wrong. This would be illegal possession of that type of imagery and incredibly disgusting, especially when, as someone who runs a Twitter account made to call out people who do this type of shit, you should know just how wrong something like this is.
Harley here is correct about Average sexting a 13-year-old being a legal class. But here's the thing, minors sending nudes is illegal. The answer is no. You see, while Harley says that he is one, he really isn't. To be a pedophile at 16 you'd need to be sexting someone 11 years or younger. This is not a case of a pedophile going after a kid. A 16-year-old and a 13-year-old can legally fucking get married but can't record the sex. Just because you're 16 and your girlfriend that you most likely fuck is under that age doesn't mean you're automatically a pedophile. The gap needs to be of 5 years. Ironically, Harley will defend a 19 and 17 sexting, but when a 16-year-old sexts a 13-year-old, Harley will bitch.
Aware of the fact that the minor was 17 while they were 19 and engaging in sexual acts with them and receiving nudes from them, which is technically illegal. You aren't legally allowed to share nudes till you're 18. But I think pretending that most teenagers haven't engaged in some behavior like this in their lifespan is ridiculous.
How the fuck is the 19-year-old not a pedophile, but the 16-year-old is the pedo? It's basically the same situation, except one is a 3-year age gap between minors, while the other is a 2-year age gap between a legal adult and a minor.
I feel like in this context, Average is 100% in the wrong if they knew this minor's age.
427, 532. Okay, I guess it's not number 15. There are 294 videos on Harley's channel. Fuck it, that's how many times Harley's messed this up. I don't even care anymore. They contradict their stance on numbers allowed in relationships as often as they contradict their stance on how important numbers are to them in general. I haven't seen every Harley video, and at this rate, I am unironically pretty confident that Harley has messed up every situation they've covered, and even if they haven't, they're hypocritical in one where they haven't, because they switched their stances, they switched their morality, they switch everything about them. They are a spineless coward who wants to pander to the evil fucking Twitter crowd. They have no morals, no dignity. They are just absolutely repulsive. I'm done. For real this time.
HarleyTBS is just kind of everything wrong with commentary and Twitter culture on the internet. Sometimes I hate the stupidity, maybe it's the ignorance, but then I realize that somehow I hate the smart dishonesty more if combined with people who are ignorant and stupid who will just buy it. HarleyTBS, you're not a good person. Enough of this stuff happened when you were an adult or near an adult or mid to give you the never trust again stamp of disapproval. So even if they completely turn their image around and never do anything bad again, you should not let your guard around them. Always look into what they're saying and take it with a grain of salt, as they are not a trustworthy source. And keep an arm's length if they want to be your friend. Sounds really harsh, doesn't it? Until you realize that's what you should be doing with literally everyone on the internet anyways. But that's not just the end of the video, or even this Harley saga. It's also the end for my channel, sort of. I'm gonna go to work on allocation stuff and continue experimenting on this one. I've already turned this into the most anti-algorithm thing possible, and I shouldn't take advantage of that and seeing what works better than what doesn't, and seeing what gets monetized. I think I will have a lot more passion and fun talking about these topics I enjoy more, opposed to pedos. I never really liked drama too much until I got addicted to drama, but then it all became about that. It's like I feel gross. This is a better send off to commentary than the Fired Out Tom Dark video. Let's be real. With all that being said, if you like animation, subscribe to Allocations.